Hello, in this video we're going to talk about the Dutch Army Hooped Bivi bag and talk about some of the benefits and some of the sacrifices you make when you're using a bag like this. And if you stick around to the end, I'll explain how most people end up making the sacrifices without actually reaping those benefits. And a quick hint, it's all about how you use it. Now you enter the bag through a zip which runs down one side of the bag, and although this does in theory leave an entry point for water, it does have a storm flap. And in practice, I've never gotten wet using this, not even when I've been inside and the kids have had the hosepipe on to test it. Now, because it is a side entry with a zip, it does make it very easy to get in and out of, and that is a definite bonus with this bag. I really like it for its ease of use. Now, there's just one small pole at the head end, and that makes it very quick and easy to deploy. You just roll it out, you put a peg in each of the four corners, insert the pole, and within seconds, your shelter's up and running for you to get into. Now the bag can be fully enclosed if it's raining to keep you nice and dry. And when it's fully enclosed, you can see it's got a really good storm flap here. Lifts up. It can be left fully open if it's good weather to give you lots of ventilation. But my personal favourite is to leave it open using the built-in mosquito net to keep you nice and protected from the bugs. I don't like the bugs. Now the dimensions of this bag are quite large. So it's about 220 centimetres long. It's about 84 centimetres wide at the shoulder. And the hoop is about 43 centimetres high. Now I'm 1.7 metres tall, so I'm hobbit sized that way, but I'm quite broad and chunky, so I've got a sort of 46-inch chest and broad shoulders, and actually I fit in there fine. There's plenty of room in there for me. Now what I would say is there isn't that much room for kit, so I've had things like webbing in there before and my boots, but if you've got like a big Bergen or another big large rucksack, then you might need to find some alternative for that, maybe a sort of a Bergen cover or some kind of tarp to keep that dry. Now the bag is incredibly good quality. It's actually a clone of Corinthia's XP Bivi bag, and it's actually made by Corinthia themselves. Now it's been slightly modified to military specifications, and that means it's about 400 grams heavier. So it is a heavier bag because they've used like really durable materials in there. But it still represents fantastic value because Corinthia's branded bag actually costs £735 new at 2022 prices, while you can pick up this bag used for between £95 and £115, so it's really good value and very good quality. Now one of the benefits of this bag is it can be deployed anywhere. Now unlike a tarp, you don't need trees or to carry poles in order to string the tarp up, and unlike a tent, you don't need a large piece of flat ground. You can literally use this anywhere and it's fine. Now the second benefit of this bag, it is incredibly easy to set up, so when you need shelter in a hurry or an emergency, it's a really good option. Now one major benefit of this bag is because it is very low profile and has such a small surface area, it doesn't catch the wind at all, and that makes it very, very windproof, and it won't sort of get destroyed by a very high wind like a tent could or a tarp could, where it could sort of catch the wind like a sail. So in high winds, it's a fantastic choice. Another benefit is because it is so low profile and it has this camouflage pattern, it is incredibly stealthy. So if you're into your stealth camping, this is a fantastic choice because you're not going to get much stealthier than the Dutch Bivi. You might even think it's been designed for that purpose. Another benefit is that it's a reasonably lightweight option, and that's important because all your kit tends to add up and carrying heavy equipment around all day isn't much fun. Another benefit is that this does actually add a couple of degrees of warmth to your sleep system. Because it's lower volume than a tent, it tends to warm up and stay a bit warmer than a tent does. Now I've actually used this on Exmoor when my detachment commander got hypothermic and we actually had to evacuate him back to camp. Then I returned back to my bivvy and had a lovely warm night with no problems at all. So those are the benefits, but what are the sacrifices you make when you use a system like this? Well, the first one is space. Now that seems pretty obvious, but what you probably may not realise if you've never done it before is it does make certain tasks like cooking or getting your clothes changed, things like sitting up, you just can't do in there. You've also got to think about how you're going to store your equipment because there isn't really a lot of room in there for a big rucksack. So the space element is quite important, and often I think it's a bit of a deal breaker. Now another thing you need to be aware of is there's no port to the system. So if you're getting in and out when it's raining, then your sleeping bag has got a very high chance of getting wet. So that's something else you need to think about. Another thing that's caught me out and you need to be aware of is if you use this bag with a very thick sort of portable airbed, then what you'll find is if you put it on the inside of the bag, it'll take up all of the space inside the bag and you won't have enough room. So you have to use it underneath the bag, and that's not ideal for inflatable mattresses which are prone to puncture. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I thought the same thing. That probably is, well, I'll just use it with a tarp because that'll cancel out most of the benefits, right? Well, yeah, partly, but it's the trap I fell into and most other people fall into, because as soon as you start using a tarp with the shelter, you negate most of its benefits. Now, the first thing is, because you're now setting up a tarp as well, it's not quite so easy to set up. The second thing is you can't just set it up anywhere anymore, because now you need either trees or you need to carry poles in order to tie the tarp to. Now, the tarp is also likely to be higher profile now than the bivvy, and yes, I know you can set up tarps up low, but it's going to be higher than the bivvy is, and straight away that means you've got a higher profile, so you've lost some of that stealthiness, and also because it is higher profile and it's a much bigger surface area, it's more likely to catch the wind, so it's not quite as windproof as well. And the final one is, combined with a tarp, this is no longer a lightweight shelter. And that last one is the killer for me, because the Dutch bivvy on its own is about 1.6 kilos. If you add something like a DD tarp, then that adds another sort of 800 grams with all the guide ropes and everything, and that works out at over 2.4 kilos. Now that's heavier than a lot of two-man tents, even the budget ones. Now, for example, I have an OEX Fox two-man tent, which is considerably larger, weighs a lot less, and actually cost about half the price of the Dutch bivvy and a tarp combo. So it's something you need to think about. Now, if you really do want to sleep under a tarp, and I get that because I love sleeping under a tarp, you don't need a heavy bag like the Dutch bivvy. It's kind of over-specified for the purpose. You can make do with a much lighter, more minimal design, something like an OEX Bivvy Pro. Now, they cost about £45 if you get them in the sales, and they are in sale right now, and they only weigh about 450 grams, so they're over a kilo lighter. What it comes down to is the Dutch bivvy is a fantastic tool, but like all tools, it suits some situations and not others. And the situations that it suits are where the benefits from its unique properties outweigh the sacrifices that you need to make. For example, if you're a stealth camper, this is probably the ideal bag for you, because you're never going to get a bag stealthier than the Dutch bivvy. It's also perfect if you've got to sleep in wind-swept locations where there could be plenty of wind, there may not be trees, and somewhere where you've got to just be able to sleep anywhere at the expense of comfort. Where it doesn't suit is when you want to prioritise space or comfort, and maybe you think about adding a tarp to supplement those, because then you're getting into the weight category of a tent, but without realising a lot of the practicalities. So in summary, the Dutch Army Hooped Bivi is a fantastic tool, and it does the job it was designed for brilliantly, but just bear in mind it might not be the best choice in the situation you want to camp in.